The British Council works in skills because we have a very important commitment to supporting the advancement of education, and skills and vocational education and training is a very important part of education systems and the education sector. We also as an organisation are committed to building up a friendly knowledge and understanding between the UK and the countries where we work. And we do that through many ways, but one way is through our work in education. We do quite a range of activities, and they're very much driven by the strengths and priorities and challenges that are faced both in the UK skills sector and also the countries that we're working in. At the moment, there is really a growing movement, a growing skills movement, and a growing interest in skills development and in vocational education and training. If you go back to 2000 and look at the Millennium Development Goals, there was no mention of vocational education and training. If you now look at the new Sustainable Development Goals, there are 3 specific targets for vocational education and training, and many of the other targets are very strongly linked to skills development. This is partly because we're seeing high unemployment figures in many countries. We're seeing high numbers of young people who are unemployed or at risk of unemployment or in poor quality jobs. We're seeing instability in many countries. And we're also seeing increasing globalization, increasing mobility of people. So all of those factors, it's really having quite a big impact. And I think for that reason, that's why there's this increased focus on vocational education and training from many governments and international organisations around the world. And we have to respond to that as the British Council because of our commitment to education. We tend to focus our activities in 4 main areas. One is in terms of influencing policy, practice and people. And that's very much about looking at sharing good practice, looking at how we can, for example, how we can reform an education system, what policies do you need to have in place, can we learn from other countries and other systems, can we debate and discuss and look at different views, different perceptions. The second area is encouraging mobility and exchange, and I would say that area is really at the heart of the British Council's work in everything that we do. And that could be exchange and mobility of young people, of teachers, of policy makers, of leaders of education institutions. And that exchange really supports not just our cultural relations mission, building the friendly knowledge and understanding between people and between countries, but it also supports us building lasting and sustainable partnerships. And also it supports our policy work so that we'll be exchanging knowledge and ideas. The third area is around building partnerships. So we bring organisations together from the UK with their counterparts in many countries around the world. So for example, it could be a vocational college with a sector body or a body which offers qualifications, and they would work with counterparts in another country on an innovation project, so looking to develop new approaches, new methodologies in skills development. And we would always link that with a policy level so we can try and use these projects as demonstration projects. And I think that's what could be quite exciting about them. So we're always trying to look at how to maximise the impact of what we do through our work. And very much linked to partnerships, the 4th area of our activity is building capacity. And this could be capacity of teachers, of practitioners, of institutional leaders, and also of policymakers. We build capacity through learning by doing activities, through showcasing different approaches through things like actually exchanges and partnership projects, but often through things like seminars, conferences and workshops. So very sort of practical to share experience, not to tell people how to do things, but to use the wealth of experience and expertise in the UK, our understanding of what works and maybe what doesn't work, and then to work through that with the different organisations, the different individuals that we're working with, to get their views and to see what might work in different contexts. But building capacity, I think, is probably something that cuts across all of our activity. I know that from our experience of working across the UK with a real breadth of organisations in the UK, everything from policy bodies, government agencies, through to sector skills bodies, colleges, awarding bodies, training providers, there is a really strong appetite in the sector to work internationally and to collaborate internationally. There's a growing focus on having a more global outlook at the institutional level, and an understanding that actually young people, if they are to be employable, they need to have a global outlook. They need to have an understanding of the world. And so we are increasingly working with UK stakeholders to connect them to the world. The other side of that is that there is also a growing interest in looking at UK experience and UK models. I think there are some things in the UK which are quite unique. And over the years, we have had lots of different policies and strategies. Sometimes there's a view that we've had quite a lot of change, but the advantage of that is that we've tried most things. So we've got a real, I think, wealth of experience and expertise. We've also got, I think, a core approach which works across the UK. So, for example, there's a real commitment to employee engagement in education. There's a commitment to creativity and innovation. There's a commitment to focusing on different industry sectors, but also a commitment to giving young people a broader set of skills that will help them to progress in work and in life. But there are also some differences between, for example, the vocational education training system in England to what's perhaps happening in Wales, in Northern Ireland and Scotland. So that actually enriches what we can share with the rest of the world, and also means that there's a lot that we can learn from other countries as well. So I would say that the strengths of the UK sector is the commitment and experience in engaging with industry, and ensuring that the programmes, the qualifications, the curricula that young people experience is up to date, reflects the needs of industry, but will also give them the knowledge and skills that will help them to progress. So not just a narrow set of skills, but something much broader that will enrich their experience and hopefully enrich how they get on in life. I think another area is very much around innovation and creativity. We have, for example, many colleges who encourage entrepreneurship. They're running businesses with their staff and with their young people. They have very creative learning environments, and they also have a lot of facilities and learning environments which really reflect the world of work. They're using very modern, up-to-date materials, and actually they're giving young people an experience which is very, very similar to an experience they would get in the workplace. And I think that is, incredibly valuable. I think the other area I would highlight in terms of UK strengths is the flexibility in our progression routes. In many countries, once you are in an academic route or a vocational route, you are forever stuck in that route. And those two systems are very separate and they don't talk to each other. But in the UK, you can move from what some people might call an academic route into a vocational route. So you could have gone to university, you could have a degree, and you could then go into an apprenticeship programme. Equally, you could have done a vocational programme or an apprenticeship. you could progress on to a foundation degree and then on to an undergraduate degree. You could even progress on to a master's program or a PhD eventually. It will obviously, that would take some time, but you can move into those routes. You know, there is flexibility, and I think that that's very good in terms of social mobility, and also that young people don't feel that, you know, there's a dead end. You know, they can change their minds, they can change their ideas in terms of the sort of jobs they want in the future, and in terms of their careers. You know, nothing is closed off, and I think that's a real positive. And I think linked to that, we have a lot of organisations, awarding organisations, who offer qualifications, and these qualifications are very high quality and recognised internationally. And this is very much linked to our flexible progression routes, but also means that the UK has these qualifications, which, you know, other countries might find interesting to have a look at these. You know, they might be suitable, they might need adaptation, but we have a real strength in developing occupational standards and qualifications based on these standards, all informed by up-to-date labour market information.